With the NBA playoffs just being over a month away, we are getting a glimpse of what teams are going to be contenders in the playoffs and which teams aren't. And even with the very close records, especially in the Western Conference, there are certain teams there that nobody will want to face in the first round. But some players on these teams are under immense pressure to win a championship for their team, and in this video, I'm going to be going over the top 5 players in the NBA today under the most pressure to win a championship in 2023. Cue the intro. Number 5, we got Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, who is currently the defending 2-time MVP, may only be a couple games away from being the first player to win back-to-back-to-back MVPs since the great Larry Bird from 1984 to 1986. Almost 40 years since this feat has been accomplished, but can we see Jokic and the Nuggets at a championship on top of all that? The Nuggets currently sit as the number 1 seed in the West, as they have managed to hold this position for the majority of the season. Jokic, who is currently averaging a 25-point triple-double, will be the only player other than Russell Westbrook and the great Oscar Robertson to average a triple-double during the regular season. Even though the Nuggets are the first seed with the reigning 2-time MVP, I only got him at the number 5 spot on this list because the Nuggets don't even have another all-star on their team, even though they got guys like Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray. Not bad players, but to compete for championships, it's well known that you need at least 2 all-star caliber players to have a good chance of competing, especially in today's NBA with the competition around the league. And even if the Nuggets don't win this year, they still got Jokic locked up for the future and can pair him up with another all-star player down the road. But winning back-to-back MVPs and a good chance of winning a third, Jokic is under a ton of pressure to win, as he's got to put some significant value on these MVP awards he's winning. As winning 3 MVPs in a row without a ring to show for would feel somewhat empty, as he's missing the most important hardware to go with it. Larry Bird won 2 rings during his 3-peat MVP, LeBron won 2 rings during his 4 MVPs, Curry won MVP in a ring in 2015, and Giannis took home MVPs in 2019 and 20, but managed to win the championship in 2021. Seeing all of these multiple-time MVP winners add championships to their resume, Jokic is under a lot of pressure to do the same, but only got him at the number 5 spot because he's only 28 and can still see him competing for at least the next 5 seasons. Number 4, we got Kawhi Leonard. So you guys may be thinking, how does a 2-time champion and 2-time finals MVP make this list? Well, let me explain. Kawhi has now been on the LA Clippers for 4 years, but when you acquire a player like Kawhi from free agency and match him up with another superstar talent of Paul George, your team's expectations have got to be higher than just reaching the conference finals. As we already know, they blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in 2020, in which was probably their best chance to win it all looking back at it. In 2021, Kawhi got hurt in the second round and the Clippers lost to the Suns in the conference finals. Last year, they had no Kawhi and lost in the play-in, but this season is undoubtedly their best chance since the bubble, as Kawhi's been playing like an MVP candidate the second half of the season. But what we also got to remember with Kawhi is that he requested a trade from the Spurs, who were a 60-plus win team and contenders every year, and left Toronto after 1 season when they had a championship team built around them. Having a track record of leaving championship contending teams leaves a lot of pressure for Kawhi to win a championship basically anywhere he goes, which is LA at the moment. I personally do believe that Kawhi and the Clippers do have a good chance of contending this year, especially if they can stay healthy come playoff time. But if the Clippers don't win this season, I can see them running it back another year or maybe 2. But this core with Kawhi has got to win a championship together, as having a player like Kawhi on your team, especially with the pieces around them, you don't sign a player like Kawhi without championship expectations. If Kawhi and the Clippers can bring a ring to the other side of LA, that would be amazing considering their history. But Kawhi is definitely under a ton of pressure to bring the Clippers over the top this season and takes home the number 4 spot on this list. Number 3, we got Kevin Durant. Just like our previous entry, Kawhi, we got another 2-time champion and 2-time finals MVP on this list who is under a ton of pressure to win his 3rd championship. I feel like this one is a bit more obvious, but let's go into detail about it. Kevin Durant, one of the most talented and efficient scorers to ever play the game of basketball, who is now starting his journey with the Phoenix Suns to go after his 3rd ring, didn't have the best of luck beforehand. First, let's go back to his time in OKC. The 4-time scoring champ spent his first 9 seasons with the Seattle Supersonics and OKC Thunder, where he did reach 1 NBA Finals appearance in 2012, but came up short to the Miami Heat in 5 games. Looking back at his time in OKC, they really did get unlucky with injuries, as in 2013 and 15, either Durant or Westbrook missed majority or crucial part of the season, and in 2014 they lost to the eventual champion San Antonio Spurs in the conference finals in 6 games. And in 2016, KD's last season in OKC, they blew a 3-1 lead to the 73-9 Warriors in the conference finals. What a story that would have been if they had won the championship, no? But that didn't happen, and KD took his talents to the Bay Area to win the easiest 2 championships of all time. Even though KD is a 2-time champion and a 2-time finals MVP, he doesn't get 1, the credit he deserves for them, and 2, he kinda joined the best regular season team in NBA history to do so. Because that is unanimously known by the NBA community, he still is and forever will be at least a 2-time champion and 2-time finals MVP, but he is under immense pressure to win his 3rd in Phoenix, especially after the colossal failure during his time in Brooklyn. The Nets had a trio of him, Kyrie, and James Harden, but due to injuries and never being on the court at the same time, we never really got to see this Nets team at its full potential, and in my opinion, they definitely could have won in 2021 if they were healthy in the playoffs. But unfortunately, that Nets team never worked out, and now we see all of those stars on other teams. With KD in Phoenix now, they have arguably the best team in the NBA, and with a duo of him, Devin Booker, that is going to be a nightmare to defend for other teams. Even though we joke about KD never leading a team to a championship and always joining super teams, I believe, and I'm sure we can all agree to this, but if KD wins a championship with the Suns, that will mean just as much, if not more, than his 2 with Golden State. And with the roster the Suns currently have, their only expectations are that championship. I only got KD at the number 3 spot though, because even if the Suns do not win this season, the core of Durant, Booker, CP3, and Aiden will almost certainly be there the next season, and they'll get a chance to run it back. With KD being 34, he's still basically in his prime this season, and this is arguably his best chance to add another championship to his resume for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, KD got hurt in the midst of recording this video, but let's see how he comes back in 3 weeks when the Suns finish off the season when he's there. Number 2, we got James Harden. One of KD's former teammates on 2 separate occasions. James Harden is one of the all-time greatest scorers, passers, and players to ever touch a basketball, and he has accomplished everything an NBA player can ask for, except for the elusive NBA championship. The 3-time scoring champion started his career as the number 3 pick for the OKC Thunder in 2009 and helped his team reach the finals with KD and Westbrook in 2012, in which they came up short against the Big 3 Miami Heat. Harden won 6th Man of the Year in 2012, but got traded to Houston the very next season, and this is where his career would take off. Harden picked up 8 All-Star appearances during his time in Houston and won his one and only MVP in 2018. That season, his Rockets would face the Dynasty Warriors as the 1st seed in the West, and they almost took out that juggernaut of a team, but they unfortunately lost a close 7-game series. And looking back, that was Harden's best chance to win the championship, which slipped right out of his fingertips. 5 years later, and Harden hasn't even reached another conference finals. And now being in Philly with an MVP candidate in Joel Embiid, the Sixers are looking nice this season, and even though there is some tough competition in the East, the Sixers definitely have a chance to make the NBA Finals this year, as they would have to get past either Milwaukee or Boston or both. Philly may not be the favorite if those teams match up in the playoffs, but I wouldn't count them out either. Even though James' scoring efficiency is down as he is only averaging 21 points per game this season, but he's leading the league in assists just under 11 per game. With this being Harden's 14th year in the league and his prime slowly slipping away from him, James Harden even knows that the NBA championship is the only piece of hardware he's missing, and Harden winning a championship would definitely spike up his all-time ranking as he's one of the greatest players ever. Harden is under immense pressure as he's also a free agent after this year and requested a trade to Philly just over a year ago. But James Harden with Philly takes home the number 2 spot on this list. But before we get to the number 1 pick, let's go over a few honorable mentions. First, we got Russell Westbrook, the newest member of the Clippers. It's no secret that Russ is past his prime and in the second half of his career, but just like James Harden, there's nothing Russell Westbrook hasn't achieved as an NBA player besides the elusive NBA championship. With this being his 15th season in the league, Russ is still putting up good numbers, averaging 15 points, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds his first 6 games with the LA Clippers. As we know, Russ was recently a Laker the last year and a half, and playing there was neither a good fit for him or the team, and it honestly felt like he wasn't even wanted there. Seeing Russ stay in his hometown in LA and playing for the Clippers though, where he's actually needed, is a pleasant sight to behold. And with the Clippers being a better team than the Lakers, Russ now has a way better chance to compete for a championship. The reason I got Russ as an honorable mention though is because even though he's still a very valuable player to have, I feel a lot more pressure is on Paul George and Kawhi as they're currently better players with more responsibility on the team. But that doesn't mean Russ has the responsibility of, let's say, a bench player, as he's now starting again for the Clippers and can really add some value come playoff time with his playmaking and a still above average offensive game. Another reason why Russ has so much pressure on him is because he recently just got bought out from the Jazz and will be a free agent this summer. So depending on how Russ performs in this year's playoffs can really determine his future in the league. Our next honorable mention, we got Kyrie Irving. Kyrie, who recently requested a trade from Brooklyn and ended up in Dallas, is also under a lot of pressure to win a title this year. During Kyrie's time in Boston, they built a dynamic duo of him and KD, and this duo looked inevitable to compete for a championship together. But 4 seasons together and not even a conference finals to show for. After a decent 2022 and 2023 season with the Nets, KYRIE out of nowhere requested a trade, and mind you, KYRIE is on the last year of his expiring contract. So the Nets didn't really have a chance to even negotiate, and the star player wanted to be in LA, but the Nets shipped him off to Dallas. Now paired up with Luka, who's an MVP candidate this season, the Mavs have their expectations set sky high after reaching the conference finals last year. And now acquiring the 8-time All-Star Kyrie Irving, their expectations are either title or bust. Kyrie is under a ton of pressure to win a title this season though, because not only did he force himself out of Brooklyn with only half of the season left on his contract, but he's now in Dallas, who is also competing, and Kyrie is also a free agent this summer, which means he can go wherever he wants, and Kyrie already has somewhat of a reputation for ruining teams' chemistry, I'd say, and teams in the future are definitely keeping that in mind if Kyrie and the Mavs don't win it this year. Even though Kyrie is an exceptional talent who already has a championship to his name, he's previously left multiple championship contending teams, and if this doesn't go well for the Mavs and Kyrie, we can see him add another team to that list. Now our last honorable mention goes to Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum is having himself one hell of a season. After reaching the NBA Finals for the first time in his career in 2022, Tatum and the Celtics have their eyes on the prize again this year, after being just 2 wins away last season from winning the championship. Tatum is having an MVP season in 2023, putting up 30 points, 9 boards, and 5 assists per game. The Celtics are also sitting comfortably in the 2nd seed in the East, right behind Milwaukee. But with this being Tatum's 6th year in Boston, Tatum and the Celtics have never missed a postseason and have only not reached the 2nd round once since his arrival in 2017. Even though Tatum is just 25 years old and is only getting better, he's under immense pressure to win this season, as not only do the Celtics look like legitimate title contenders, but Tatum's disappointing performance in the 2022 NBA Finals leaves him no choice but to put that behind him and add another title to the Celtics organization this year. Tatum didn't crack the top 5 on this list as he's still a young player and got a lot of time to be competing for championships, but he takes home an honorable mention on this list, and let's see if the Celtics can win it all this year. And now our number 1 entry on this list, we got Chris Paul, the point guard. Chris Paul is arguably one of the purest point guards in NBA history with his exceptional passing, handling, and he can even still get buckets at the age of 37. But it's no secret that Chris Paul is lacking one piece of hardware to his collection, and that is an NBA championship. One of the most decorated players in NBA history, Chris Paul has had numerous chances at winning NBA gold, but either came up short either due to injury, bad luck, or even just straight up choking when it matters most. Chris Paul started competing for championships during his time in LA around 2012 with the Lob City Clippers team, but they were never able to make it over the hump. Chris Paul's Rockets with James Harden were 1 win away from beating the Dynasty Warriors in a trip to the NBA Finals in 2018, but CP3 got hurt in Game 5 of that series and the Rockets barely lost Game 7. Paul's best chance came in 2021 as the Phoenix Suns shocked everybody and reached the NBA Finals. And after being up 2-0 against the Milwaukee Bucks, it looked inevitable CP3 was going to add an NBA championship to his name. But the Bucks came storming back and beat the Suns in 6 games, and this loss was heartbreaking for CP3 and the Suns as they missed their golden opportunity to win an NBA championship. The very next season, the Suns finished first in the West with 64 wins, and after looking like title contenders all season long, the Suns got upset by Luka and the Mavs in the 2nd round in a blowout Game 7. This loss was even more heartbreaking for CP3 and the Suns, as the Suns had the best record in the entire NBA, and to not even get past the 2nd round after reaching the finals the year prior is more than disappointing. However though, in 2023, CP3 is undoubtedly the player under the most pressure to win the championship this year. As one, CP3 is turning 38 in May, which means he's got like 3 to 5 more years max, I would say, in his career. And second, his Suns recently acquired KD from Brooklyn, and with a big 4 of Durant, Booker, Ayton, and CP3, the Suns have their eyes set on the title and nothing else. Chris Paul winning the championship in 2023 would mean the world to not only him, as it would be his first championship at 38, but also the first championship for the Suns in franchise history. If I'm being honest as well, CP3 winning this year would even make me happy, and I'm not even a Suns fan, but all the struggles CP3 has been through and the amount of bad luck he's dealt with, CP3 is undoubtedly the player under the most pressure to win in 2023 and takes home the well-deserved number 1 spot on this list. Thank you guys so much if you made it to the end of this video. Drop a like and subscribe for more content just like this one, and leave a comment on any other players you think should have made this list or future videos. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one.